Hello everyone, welcome back to the Walking Pod. In this episode, I want to talk about the intricate relationship between technology and walking, but more generally, movement in general and physical activity, and how technology has changed physical activity, as well as how it stayed the same. So, basically I just want to talk about a few aspects of that and kind of go deeper into some of those points. So the first thing I want to talk about is walking desks. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, okay, walking desks are a great invention. Or on the flip side, you may not be thinking that, but we're going to get into the meat of it regardless. So, to dive right in, I want to talk about the pros and cons of walking desks, so as not to be biased in this sense, although obviously I can't prevent bringing my own personal bias to this discussion. But I think when thinking about walking desks, obviously they're an invention that used technology to increase physical activity while also being productive in a working environment. So I think that in that sense, the idea of walking desks sounds appealing. I think that on paper, to have a walking desk rather than a sitting desk is a plus. It's a way to decrease blood pressure, increase your heart rate, move your body more frequently throughout the day, and overall prevent less stagnation. I know that for many people, upon graduating college and even in college, you spend countless hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week sitting at a desk, and I think that that's led to greater levels of obesity and as well as other health complications. But on top of that, not only are they desk jobs, but they're also things that, you're doing on your computer. You can do that from anywhere. It's not even a desk at this point. It's a lot of people working from home, laying in bed all day long. So when you think about that in that context, walking desks sound like a great idea because they are a chance for people to stay active in a busy environment. So I think that is a plus of walking desks. I also think that if you have a job that is not flexible whatsoever, you have something that you need to show up for a certain amount of time every single day of the week, and it's not lenient at all, then I think walking desks are a way to go. They're a way for you to incorporate movement into your day. Although it may not be outside, although you may not be detached from what you're doing, it's still a way to incorporate movement. I think that goes a long way. But on the flip side, when thinking about the negatives of walking desks, I think where walking desks fail is that they don't isolate the act of walking. And I think that that's something that is important. When you go on a walk, it is a spiritual and mental experience as much as it is physical. And I think that walking desks get away from this point because they're meant to multitask something that should be done, that each thing should be done on its own. If you're doing your work while walking, yes, you may be moving your body and you may be getting some project done. But I think that just as much as walking, while you're on the walking desk, you're thinking about walking, you're also thinking about work. So I think that it can lead to maybe poor quality of work because you're also thinking about the fact that you're walking, you're focusing on balance, you're focusing on many external factors. But then while you're on this walk, you're not thinking about walking, which I think gets away from the point of it. And it gets away from two of the main points of walking. When you're going on a walk, you should be connected with your body. You should be thinking about what you're doing. You should be completely tuned in. Yes, you could have a music, you could have a podcast, you could have something on that you're listening to, but I think that when you're using a walking desk or when you're going on a walk, you should not have your laptop out. You should not have your phone out. You should not even have any sort of major distraction in front of you. So I think that in that sense, walking desks do not sound appealing to me, and I think that people should be making more of a valiant effort to get outside every day rather than purchasing a walking desk and thinking that they're solving the problem, because that is not a resolution or adequate substitution for daily movement and daily outdoor movement, in my opinion. So I think that that's one interesting way that technology has shifted the conversation around walking, because it's made it something that's more of a, we can multitask this, versus something that should be isolated on its own, when in reality I think that it should be the opposite way. I think that we should limit the amount of time that we're spending doing work each day and make an effort to incorporate movement into our days every single day, because I think that that's just as important, if not more, than career and all of these kind of intangible goals. Yes, of course, they're very important. It's important to make a living, and it's important to support yourself and a family if you have one. But I think that when in doing that and focusing so heavily and being so career focused in our society, we're losing these other key things that have just as much of an impact on your life, if not more. So I think that there's something to be said for not purchasing a walking desk and just setting aside some time each day and going outside. The next thing I want to talk about is smartwatches. Now, this is something that I know has a lot of controversy surrounding it. There are some major proponents of smartwatches and Apple Watches, Fitbits, any sort of sleep watches, whatever you may call it. Now, I think that on the plus side, these can be powerful tools to understand more about your body, to understand more about your heart rate, your pace, your physical activity levels, all of these key factors. And I think that if that's something that you need to target, if you need to know where you're at, these can be a tool to help you get to your goals in the most efficient way. They can program you to reach a certain weight that you're trying to hit, a certain amount of steps per day, a certain heart rate zone. You can kind of determine how you want to move your body based on a watch. And I think that if that's something that you're aiming to do, can be a cool thing and a cool feature that technology can bring to the table, because rather than kind of guesstimating your workouts, you can narrow it down to a T of, this is what I need to do for my body according to the computer that I have on my wrist, which is a powerful tool. And I will not say that it's not, because I think that that's fascinating and crazy that we have the power to do that. But on the flip side, I think that these devices that we wear while working out, or that many people wear while working out, I don't personally have an Apple Watch or any sort of smartwatch for that matter. I think that they can kind of they can force us to get lost in the fact that we're working out, and they almost distract us. I know, for instance, observing my own friends that have them on a daily basis, it's kind of a running joke at this point that people need to get their steps in, so they'll make any effort possible to get their certain step goal for the day, be it them walking circles around the house, or just getting up and marching, or even shaking their wrists in order to get their steps. I think that that's a small example of how these devices can kind of take over and seep into our lives in a kind of unhealthy way, almost. I wouldn't say that that's the case for everyone, because I think that there's a balance that can be struck when using an Apple Watch or a smartwatch. But in another sense, if you're just going on a walk every single day in order to hit 10,000 steps per day, I don't think that that's realistic. And I think that we should be listening more to our bodies than to devices, and you should be going outside because you want to. You should be seeking to move your body because your body is telling you that it wants to move, it needs to move, not because a watch is telling you that you need to hit a certain heart rate zone today. So I think that is kind of a freaky feature of technology, because it's dictating more than I think we should allow it to. And I think that it's taking control over things that people should determine for themselves. Sometimes it's your watch is telling you to walk 10,000 steps and you have a cold. And some people I know would still do that because they don't want to lose their streak that badly of working out, or they don't want to dip their heart rate below a certain level. So I think that it's something to be mindful of, and an almost astonishing way that technology and smartphones, smartwatches have shifted the paradigm surrounding working out and moving your body. It's no longer something that you get to go up and do, you get to wake up and do every day, but it's now become something of a I have to do this or my watch will yell at me type situation. So I think that's something to be kind of cognizant of as technology continues to evolve. And the final thing I want to talk about is kind of just how technology has shifted working out and fitness in general. Beyond walking, I think that it's given us the capacity to work out in so many different ways from so many different locations. I think that prior to technology, there was almost this buffer of you could only do things that you could think of, or you were going outside every day going for a run because that's what you knew how to do, and that was simple, and you just had to get out the door and go for a run. Or you were going to row. You were going to row a boat because you had a boat. Or it kind of came down to these what you had and didn't have access to type situations, which I think is interesting because now thinking about the current century that we're in with all of the technology and platforms available to us, it's easier than ever to go on YouTube, on Instagram, on any sort of social media, even on Safari, just the bare internet, and search any sort of workout that you can imagine. I think that is astonishing and a powerful way that can promote exercise. I know that for me, in my own day-to-day life, I love to do yoga. I love doing yoga, and I used to belong to a hot yoga studio in my hometown, but obviously since I've gone to college, I don't have access to that on a daily basis, so I rely on YouTube videos to do yoga and incorporate yoga into my life. And I think that could be said for a number of things. They have HIIT workouts, cardio workouts, running videos, anything you could think of is on the internet, and that is something that has the power to motivate more people to get up off their couch and do a workout because they have access to whatever workout that sounds appealing to them. So I think that's a great tool. I think that's something that more people should take advantage of. But on the downside, I think that a lot of people are overwhelmed by that because it feels like there are so many different voices out there of what you should be doing, as well as influencer input of this is what I do and this is what I look like and this is what a different person does and this is what they look like. So which do you want to be? And I think that's kind of clouding some people's vision of what type of exercise they should be doing because they're almost overwhelmed by how many different options there are out there. So, yeah, I think that's just another thing I'm going to keep an eye out for and see how that shifts things. And also be mindful of in your own personal life of, am I going to let this fitness influencer determine which exercise I look up to do on YouTube or how I move my body because this is how they move their body. So, yeah, those are just 3 key points of how technology has kind of shifted the conversation and practice of physical activity for both better or worse. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know if you have any feedback, and thank you for listening.